Live with the community, this is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Development Biweekly Call. Today is June 23rd, 2022. My name is David Warner with Microsoft, and I will be your host. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. We're going to see the latest on PnP Framework and Core SDK extension, PnP PowerShell, yoteams, MGT, independent publisher connectors. We're going to talk about our samples. There are so many awesome opportunities to obtain samples, script samples, team samples, Power Platform samples, and then the time will come for us to get into together mode. And so we look forward to that as a community. Then we're going to see 3 rock star demonstrations of the day. Andre is going to cover list formatting on tab and percentage charts. And then we got 2 brand new presenters today. So let's give them a round of applause, everybody, and a warm welcome. Federico on keeping track of your activities with Microsoft Lists and Power Automate. And Soheil will cover build your own Microsoft Teams using Microsoft Graph Toolkit and .NET Core API and integrate using web components. So we look forward to all of those. First, let's talk about how you can get involved and what opportunities there are to participate in the community. We absolutely would love to see you demonstrate any of your samples or techniques or technical patterns on this call. You are more than welcome to do that. And we invite you. And in fact, we've made it easy. We've got a link here that you can fill out to provide your interest in doing that. Perhaps you want to provide a sample, you don't want to demonstrate it. That's okay, you can do that too. Contribute on GitHub, or perhaps you just want to see things improved in a different way, or you like what we're doing. We love to hear feedback, whether it be something new that you'd like to see or what we're doing that you do like. Don't hesitate to let us know. We also have a number of open source initiatives, galleries, videos, all kinds of things for you to take advantage of. Tons of resources. This is our Pageo links, as Patrick calls it. We've got 2 video links for you to take advantage of, the Microsoft 365 developer videos and community videos, where you can see amazing opportunities to engage as well as learn from others that have created videos in the community. We also have initiatives and programs available for you for GitHub, PnP, Office Dev. Those are all available via GitHub. We also have sample galleries aplenty. We talked a lot about those, and we'll talk more about them here in a few minutes. And you don't have to remember all of these links. There are a ton to remember, but you only need to remember one. aka.ms/m365/community will give you access to all of these samples and resources that are available to you. We also have a number of community calls that are available. The M365 or Microsoft 365 platform is a weekly call brought to you by Microsoft, meaning that all of the presenters on this call are coming to you from Microsoft. They are available, and program managers or product managers, and they are there to provide you insights and info on the newest, latest, and greatest coming directly from Microsoft. Now, next week is going to be one of those, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but it is going to be on a break from July 1st to the 31st of August. So keep that in mind. The invites will stay on your calendar. We can't take those off your calendar, so you can go in and just manually remove them if you'd like, or just ignore and dismiss the alert when you get it, but definitely keep that on there for the long run. We've also got adaptive cards, Microsoft Identity Platform, Office add-ins, the monthly Power Platform call. We also got these 2 bi-weekly calls within the M365 community, platform community, Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Development, which you're on right now, and Viva Connections SharePoint Framework, which happens every other week. You can access all of these at aka.ms/m365/calls. As I mentioned, that Microsoft 365 platform call is available. The next one is on the 20th of June, which is next Tuesday at 8 a.m. This is the last call before the summer break, so get in. Don't want to miss it. We're going to see topics on taking advantage of Microsoft Graph's Postman collections, an introduction to Microsoft Viva Learning Extensibility, and introduction to Virtual Appointment API. So always really cool stuff being brought to you in these calls. You do not want to miss them. You can get that recurrent invite at aka.ms/m365-call. Now, you're going to find out about a number of initiatives that are available to you and programs for you to take advantage of. You may feel like, I don't know how to engage in any of those areas. Well, Sharing is Caring is a program here to provide you hands-on guidance. And what does that mean? That means in live sessions, we are going to work together to accomplish the ability for you to submit to GitHub. Perhaps you want to become a better writer. You want to learn more about Power Pages, the newest announcement from Microsoft during build. We are setting up sessions and have current sessions available for you to join, where these are safe space opportunities for you to work hand in hand with other members of the community, members of the PnP team, MVPs within the community, members of Microsoft. It's one big community that we're working together. These are safe space, meaning they're not recorded and they are live, they are hands-on, and we will accomplish a number of these tasks together. Did want to note that the writing for the web, which was scheduled for this week and next week, we're just having to reschedule. The instructors came down with COVID, so we're going to give them some time to recover, and of course we wish them well, so we're going to reschedule, but those dates are available for you to reschedule now in July, so go definitely take advantage of that. That's going to be an excellent new session with Hugo Bernier and Emily Mancini. Now, once you have contributed to this community, we want to recognize all the amazing work that you're doing, because quite frankly, it wouldn't be possible without you. And so what we've done is we've created a recognition program where we have partnered with Credly. Yes, that same Credly that creates those certification badges that you get when you pass a Microsoft certification. They are going to sit right alongside. There are a number of achievements available to you, and we've got more coming soon. We do need you to opt in, and you can do that at aka.ms/m365pnp-recognition. You only need to do that once, and we will track you from year to year. It's no cost to you, and we absolutely want you to take advantage of this opportunity. All right. Well, now let's. Next up is PnP.NET library. So let's turn it over to Bert.
Thank you, David. In the .NET world, we have the two libraries, the framework one and the core SDK one. Framework, we did some maintenance, a couple of PRs are merged from Gautam and from Koen. On the core SDK side, we had more happening, I would say. Thanks to Matthijs, we have content type hub support. So now you can actually quite easily add content types to the content type hub, configure them, and also publish them, unpublish them, check if content type is published, yes, no. So under the covers, we used the graph APIs to make that happen. There's also options to take a content type from the hub and create a copy of it, add it to a list or to a site, and then if you don't update the content type in the hub, you can push the changes down, and this all works nicely. So the new content type hub approach, the Microsoft build, is just also much better and more scalable than the previous one. For the folks that remember, where we copied all content types by default, now we do this on demand, and it just works so much better. We also have document conversions. So Graph supports file conversions. That's built in. So you can just take a Word document and say, give me the PDF, and we do that for you. Or take generate HTML from content, etc. So there's like 4 document target formats we support, and that's implemented. Preview links is also a graph feature that we connected to PnP SDK. So you can get an embeddable preview link for a document, so you can then use an iframe and show that document in read-only mode in your application. Then we have support for link unfurling. So what this means is you can just throw any URL, a sharing URL, a document URL, whatever, you throw the URL in, and you get information back about that particular file. So you get file information, list item information, you get thumbnail images if they're available. So the idea is that you just throw the URL, and we try to give you as much as needed, so you can then show like a thumbnail and some basic data about the file in your application. And finally, we integrated site and file analytics. So also graph-based, but if you want to know like how many views were in the last 7 days or in or a particular custom period, that's now possible for both sites overall and for specific files. Then I would like to end with the 2 things. Good news is next week there will be a new release. So we've been telling that, but now it really will happen. Next week there will be a new release of Core SDK, Framework, and PowerShell. And finally, just to close down, if there are still key scenarios that you want, the things that you miss when you, for example, translate your existing applications using old PnP libraries to Core SDK, then there's an issue pinned on the top of the issue list, and just go over there and start a discussion about what you need, and then we'll see to get that happen as soon as possible. And I think with that, Gautam, over to PowerShell.
Thanks, David and Bert. In PnP PowerShell also, we are working closely with the PnP Framework and the Core SDK team to create a new 1.11 release. it seems like a massive release looking at the number of commands that we added and the fixes and the improvements that we did. So what's available in the latest nightly is we realized that there is a good use case to make it easier for users to upload attachments to the list items. So we made that support available. So you can now add, fetch as well as delete list item attachments. We also realized that there is also a need for Microsoft Purview sensitivity labels. So we added a commandlet to fetch those labels from the Graph API. Then there is also this requirement, like you wanted to add list views from an XML file. So we added that particular command as well. And then there is also a command that we added to update the content type property. So sometimes you want to update a content type name, or you want to update some description, or you want to make the content type as read only. We made that a bit easier to do that. Also, a lot of internal changes that are going on inside the Connect PnP online and also the PnP planner commandlets. One thing I would really like to love to hear from your users is that you're thinking of dropping support for PowerShell 5. So if you have any strong objections or any issues related to that, would love to hear that. Dropping support does not mean the commands won't work. It's just that we won't fix those commands for PowerShell 5. It's just that PowerShell 7 is now quite good enough, and it's much more better and faster and all that kind of stuff. So we'd really like to concentrate, work on that front. So, but if there is any issues related to that, would be happy to hear you out. Yep. Thanks. Over to you, David.
Excellent. Thank you, Gautam. Next up is yoteams with Victor.
Yes, thank you. So we this morning released version 4. Unfortunately, delayed a month. I was hoping to release it last month at build when the Teams.js SDK version 2 was released. But last minute we found some bugs with connectors and was waiting for a fix for that, but I couldn't wait anymore. So I just released it anyway. So there's a warning in there now, a recommendation if you're trying to scaffold out a connector. That will actually not work. So if you do have an urgent need of creating connectors, please use version 3.5 to scaffold it out. As soon as Teams.js SDK is fixed, we'll release a minor patch and just fix that. But it's a big release. We added support for 1.13, 1.12 manifests, 1.13 being the new default one. Teams.js SDK, of course, version 2, of course, the big one, but also a lot of with deprecation of things that hasn't been used for or used like once over the last 6 to 12 months, and there's no point in supporting those edge scenarios. It's enough code in this already. Continue to grow. Usage is at all-time high. I say that every time, but I think that's cool. The React component helper has over 200,000 downloads the other couple of weeks ago. So it's all looking good, and thanks to all the contributions, there's been some help from Nelly, Kyobi, with some updates on missing links in documentation, etc. There are quite a few help wanted, feature requests, etc. So feel free to hop in and help building out this community tool for building Teams applications. Thanks. Over to MGT, I think.
Awesome. Thanks, Victor. And yes, Seb Levert. Congratulations on the V4 release as well on yoteams. Sebastian Levert, Microsoft Graph Toolkit.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Thank you, Victor. A couple of things that I wanted to mention for this week on the MGT status. We are continuously looking for new samples to be dropped in our MGT sample gallery. So feel free to go aka.ms/mgt/samples. If you build something with MGT, a nice get template, or maybe you customize a person or a person card, feel free to go on and just share with the world the nice work that you've been doing, and we're going to highlight you on this call and on some different calls also at the same time. Our latest release, 2.5.2, was released. Have a look at it. Lots of accessibility improvements. So we always make sure that every single user using our tool is welcome, and we're doing lots of effort over there these last days. Lastly, what I wanted to let you know is that now our playground, so MGT is now a PWA, a progressive web app, so you can install it on your desktop and you can play with it to get the latest and greatest and kind of try out some of the capabilities you want to use with MGT. So we're happy to have that sitting on your desktop. Our version 2.6 should be out by next week. So if you want to look at what's coming, you can install the next version of MGT already. npm I on at Microsoft/MGT@next. So our next version is always available using that tag. And we need your help. If you have bugs you want to work on, we have a good bunch of good first issues. Same thing with help wanted. So go to our repo, aka.ms/MGT, where you're going to find all of this. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Seb. Next up is independent publisher connectors. We have 48 awesome independent publishers. Congratulations. Thank you all. 132 independent connectors, 4 new connectors, as well as 1 update to existing connectors. So as mentioned in all the others, help is wanted. Don't hesitate to get involved. You can get access to that by going to the links available on the screen, and we will include them in the chat as well. Next up is script samples with Paul Bullock.
Thank you, David. So Script Samples is a repository where you can share your scripts with the community regarding automating tasks in Microsoft 365. So whether this be with the CLI for 365, PnP PowerShell, SPO Management Shell, a whole wide range of these are all available for you to share and store and with the community. All the samples are integrated into the unified sample gallery, which is super, super cool. So it means that your samples will get exposure there. We have a second edition, bumper edition of samples. So we've got another 10 new samples or updates from a whole range of contributors there. So I'm pretty happy about that. The first one was install, solution, and deploy SharePoint site from Nandi in action. You've got Power App updates to the PowerShell scripts, so add and remove bulk users from Louise Fries. We've got set home site to SharePoint online tenant by Smith in Action as well. Bulk create teams JSON file by Nandi Action, and we've got export SharePoint list data with CSV with attachments. Again, from Nandi Action, it's been a busy chat, which is super cool. Create bulk documents, including major minor versions by Matthias Verbeek. We've also got some updates to PnP PowerShell script, so it's not just the CLI this time. So we've got delete custom color themes from SharePoint by Leon, and read SharePoint list items for a camel query by Diego Powles. This is super, super cool. Well, one big thing as well, we've just reached our first birthday for script sample. So thank you very much to everyone who's contributed to make this a successful repository. It's been super, super cool. If you want to get involved, Agile Warshek, is managing the good first issues in the repository if you want to have some ideas to write samples, and we offer a badge as recognition as well for all of those samples that you do create. So we thank you very, very much. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. Excellent. And yeah, 1 year, how it goes so fast. They grow up so fast, I tell you. All right, Microsoft Teams samples. We want to thank the marvelous Marcus Moeller for his yet another amazing sample. We talked about this one in the last call, but we want to mention again because we're getting into summer and everybody wants to watch movies together, right? So check this out. It's a very cool way to take advantage of a Teams app. And of course, your samples are always welcome, and there are more to take advantage of and available. So don't hesitate to check them out. Next up is Power Platform samples. We've got a plethora of Power Platform samples, but we want a plethora more. So please don't hesitate to submit. We've got lots available in there, and we're going to be ramping this up even more with Hugo Bernier now for Power Pages. So he is the new CPM for Power Pages. We are excited about that. You can join the Sharing is Caring session for Power Platform contributors next Wednesday, June 29th. Don't hesitate. Plenty of time to sign up. We'd love to see you there and show how you can get more involved. Well, the time has come. Optional picture time. We're running a little bit behind schedule, but let's make sure we get everybody's fantastic faces in. Let's say hi to the community. Turn on your camera if you would like to wave to everyone in the community, and we will capture a GIF. Vess is going to take on over.
1 second. Just getting rid of that one. We're still a few seconds, and let's wait 20 seconds, still more. I'm going to start recording. Not yet. We have 50 seats in the room. So let's wait for room to fill in. Not yet. Wait. I can actually enable the camera as well, so I'll be in the picture. I guess we are starting to be a full 50 attendees. I guess that's it. So let's do some hand waving, everybody. We are already recording this, and I can see a dog in the room, in the house as well. That's really, really cool. And there's Techuan in the front row. Hands waving, everybody. Awesome to have
Got
you.
some young ones in here. Start them young.
Excellent, excellent. Excellent. Thanks, everybody. We'll grab a GIF animation out of that, and then let's just jump on the real stars of the day.
All right, excellent. We should.
We do have 3 awesome demos queued up. So let me show that screen from here, and we'll jump Andre on your side.
Thank you, Vesa. So thank you for giving me another presentation. So today I want to talk about how we can create some additional formatting, and I will keep it really simple with 2 simple examples that could help us to create content on SharePoint page. And for this, I have these 2 different examples. One is for tabbing, to how we can use the list formatting to create tabs that you can create content, plus some tabs that you can improve the UI on your SharePoint page. And the second is a percentage chart. So what is the goal? I prepare a list with a bunch of functionalities like the amount of tabs, the icons, and the image that we can use to define some tabs. The tabs will be able to switch between the different areas and will display different content. We have an icon, or we can also associate the image. So we can also create some conditions. We can also have a title, a description, and the more info is nothing more than a link that will redirect if there is the need itself. And then I also have the percentage chart. What is the goal here? The goal is to create something a little more like info chart look and feel, where you can create a global value, and then you can make some type of percentage. So imagine we have total values of items, and then we can say how many give answers, how much was the expectation, and also what is the values that we can visualize. And this can be also nice to present this information directly on the page. So like I said, the goal here is to have to organize these tabs, and we create, and on the right we have the functionalities that we can validate when we click on the tab, and where we save the position, and where will be the content that is going to be displayed. And the second is on the percentage chart, we have different views, and here I use 3 different ones that I use, for example, icons that is coming out of the box with the SharePoint page. Also, we can also associate emojis, or we can even include SVG image itself. I'm going just to show the 3, and also you show the list formatting, how I include it itself. And let me jump just to the presentation. Oh, this is my home page, and I'm going, for example, for my page. So imagine you need to create some content, and you need to have, for example, you go here, and you add some text. So text, and you have this is my content, and you also need to include a tab. For this, I use this specific list, and I create something that we can interact and we can switch. Of course, how this is done? If I go to my support list, and I go to my items, this is the way that I configure. For each one of the positions, I define the title, the description, and also what type of icon, or for example, one thing that I do, I can include an icon, or can I include a link, and he will make the switching of the area itself. For the link that I show, for example, I have one view I have a specific tab, and I want to display all the tabs. The moment I create one, I can say, okay, I want to use the first one. If I make the right filter, I want to use the first one in one specific page, and the second one in another specific page. And for that, for example, if I go to one where I define the view, and I go to the filter, I want to say, I want to define for the second tab that should be with the tab side 2, and then I return to my page. So just need to return to my page, and I will return just 1 second. Oh, sorry. And to the tab itself, and I can always edit, and I will display only the tab that I needed for that specific moment. I can go here, I change, and I will switch to the other one. And of course, we have the image, or we have the icon associated. And then we can choose and we can create content with more user experience itself that can respond some of the requests that you have from the customers. When you have, for example, oh, we want to have a tab, out of the box is not available, or you have the option to make a development, or for example, for this case, you can use your list formatting to create this user interaction itself. And this is how we can also create this tab, and you can use the list formatting to create the tabs. And the second option is how we can create, for example, like an info chart approach. Like I already showed in one of the presentations, the goal here is we define, for example, I want to define for the 2022, I want to define that, for example, we make an inquiry to 60,000 persons, and we have an answer of 45,000 persons. So I'm just going to have it here, and I will put here the title, example, PnP. And then I will define this will have to go, needs to be with the color gold. The moment I create a new item, and the moment I create, as you can see, we have a new option here, and this will define, for example, for the ratio, and this I want just to define for the ratio of for 65, and we have 75% of response. At any moment, we can always change, and we can define more values, and then we can see the interaction itself. For this one, I use SVC the creation. The second one, for example, if you want to have some car sales and you want to display how it's the current situation on that year, you can say, okay, from the total that we defined that we should sell it, 45,000 was already sold. So we already have 75% of the objectives already done. And this is, I'm using, for example, my ratio of 10 image that will give me the percentage of 100. And then I can play around and make the change associated here. So for example, I will change it here, and this will only 4,000 and will give me the associated value. So this will be one. Of course, we can also associate some emojis that we can represent what they are trying to sell, try to display, I'm sorry. And also we can use, for example, wave formatting that we can also display, and we can display the content of the value and the percentage. Of course, at any moment that we make a change, what is it doing? The CSS will hide and display based on the ratio that we have it there. So if I go to my list, and for example, if I go to my first one, I'm using SVC, and what I'm doing is for each one of the user, I load in the image associated there. And then for the calculation, I use the 3% ratio. So I define the area, and then with the calculation that I received from the 67% or 100%, I decrease and increase depending on the values that I have it there. The same I will have, for example, if I go for the car sales, what I have it here is nothing more than using the icons. So I will use the car. And for each one, my ratio continues to be the same. We have 10 cars that will represent 10. And then I can make the mathematical calculation to have the display. The same that we are doing also for the other option here. And this is a very basic but very useful that if you want to create content and you don't want to create a custom SharePoint functionalities, but you can use this list formatting to display this information itself. And what I want to say is also that these links are available on the GitHub list formatting repository, and don't forget to give feedback on the list. It will be always very valuable based on your experience working with the list itself. Vesa, I pass to you. That's everything from my side.
Andre, I'm back. Yes, excellent. Thank you. Guess who's back? David's back. Yes, excellent job, Andre. Thank you for sharing all that. Always amazing what you do with list formatting. You and Chris are a dynamic duo, so thank you very, very much. Next, we'll move up to Federico. You brought us back on time, Andre, so thank you. And Federico, feel free to take control, share your screen, and tell us about how you're going to keep track of activities with Microsoft Lists and Power Automate.
Yes, thank you, David. Thank you. So let me share my screen. So, okay. Here we are in my presentation, and I introduce myself. I'm Federico, I come from Italy, and I am a digital workplace specialist in public sector. And today I would like to share a solution I created with Microsoft List and Power Automate, but I would like to tell how everything began, because a couple of months ago, I came across a solution provided by a Microsoft Teams competitor, and then I commented, well, why not Microsoft Teams too? So let's try using Microsoft List and putting together Microsoft List, Power Automate, and Microsoft Teams, because we know that Microsoft List is our smart tracking information map, and we can create a lot of things to track information, for example, tasks, activities, and so on. But in this case, if we are asked to create a list to, for example, highlight dates in group records by dates, if we need to keep an eye on attachment, and if we want other user to use this list as a template, is it possible to do this? Well, the answer is yes, but before creating this list, I put a little of effort on having a general idea of what the list should be, because as we can see, each record is composed of three basic components: a top bar, a writing box, and a toolbar. And I tried to create a basic template so that thanks to modularity and flexibility, it could be further customized by other user. And then if we can have a list breakdown with the main components, and each record, as we can see, has a title bar, a writing box, and here is a toolbar where we can keep track of various information. For example, we have a people picker, an activity status, the out-of-the-box tool, for example, the share icon, the bin, etc. And in this case, I have created a section where we can have a point of access of our favorite Office apps. But I would like to share another things. At this point, we could use this solution, as we can see in my slide. But what if we want to track and manage attachment in a list if required by our process? Where in this case, we cannot use the length function directly in Microsoft List because it won't work. So we should have a deeper look by using Power Automate. So as we can see here, we have the Power Automate flow in a nutshell, where there are some basic steps. There are not so many steps here, where we can see the importance of getting things. So after we get information about the attachment column, then this Power Automate flow will update a specific column called attachment number, and then an icon with the exact number of attachment will be displayed in our list. So obviously, this my tutorial will be available in my GitHub and also in the official GitHub repository. I think that obviously there are also the Microsoft List official docs if you want to have a further look about this. But if I have a couple of minutes, David, I would like to share a real-time demo of this solution. So thanks for watching with my slides. I can ask. Let's go here in my solution, and as we can see here, we have my activity tracking solution, and the modularity is visible here because if we need more space, obviously thanks to JSON, we can increase the space if needed. And let's create a new item in real time. For example, here I can create a hello world. I can save immediately, and I can edit later thanks to the line edit field property. For example, I can write here a text. I can choose, for example, the people involved, or if this is a task, well, the people are assigned to this task. For example, Mario Rossi. Here, I can choose, for example, the status progress and so on. Okay, and based on this solution, if I attach a document, then the Power Automate flow, as documented in my tutorial, will show you an icon as visible here with the exact numbers of attachment provided here. And obviously, we can also open in the standard pane as shown here. And that's it. We have also a point of access for each apps, Office apps, but obviously we can further customize it. For example, if you want to add other internal apps not available in Microsoft stores, well, it's possible. We can do it here by modifying the JSON provided in my tutorial. And that's all. So thanks, David, for giving me this important opportunity. And
absolutely. Well done, Federico. Thank you very much. And there's some links for Federico's demo in the chat and some questions. Federico, I'll let you follow up with those in the chat just for concern of time, but excellent job. Thank you very much. I love how you're combining Microsoft Lists and Power Automate using the Power Platform along with the M365 stuff. Really well done. That's really how the technology is best used. So thank you so much. All right. Next up, we'll move over to Sohail. Build your own Microsoft Teams using MGT and .NET Core API, along with integrating web components. So Sohail, feel free to take it on over.
Thank you, David. Let me share my screen and I'll start the presentation.
Got it. Looks great.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Sohail Bhalla. I'm working as a Microsoft 365 expert in codeless technology BV. And today we are going to talk about how you can build your own version of Microsoft Teams using Microsoft Graph Toolkit and .NET Core API as a backend. So there are a couple of links on the slide. One is my LinkedIn profile, and the other one is the PnP blog. So I have also published this implementation as a part of the PnP blog as well. So you can dive into that blog where you can see additional details about the implementation and some detailed level code snippets as well. OK. So let's talk about the business case. The real business case behind building your own version of Microsoft Teams is to have your own context-based conversations getting created from your application. I mean, it can be anything based on the requirement of the application itself. So there are certain key areas that we need to focus upon when we are building your own version of Microsoft Teams, that it should be able to send messages. So whatever the messages that gets posted from your custom implementation of Teams should get synced to Microsoft Teams. You should be able to initiate chats. I mean, the chats can be initiated on any specific topic, whatever you want based on the context of your application. And you should be able to receive messages as well. So let's say if there's a new message that has been posted on an existing conversation, which is tagged along with your application, you should be able to see those messages as well in your setup. And you get notifications as well. So if a new message gets posted on Microsoft Teams, you should also get notified for those messages in your implementation, how Microsoft Teams does. And an optional thing as showing emojis. So if there's any reactions that happens on Microsoft Teams, those reactions should also get synced back to your implementation. OK, let's quickly talk about the architecture. So there are 4 key areas or the key things that have been involved in the implementation of your own Microsoft Teams. One is the Microsoft Graph Toolkit, which is the face of the application, where we are using Microsoft Graph Toolkit components in order to design the front end of the application. Then we have the Azure App Service. The Azure App Service is the service which is hosting my .NET Core API, which is also acting as a proxy provider, and also has an additional endpoint, which is a signaler endpoint, which will be used to notify the web application whenever there is a new message that has been posted, as well as it has an endpoint which gets subscribed to Graph Change subscriptions. So Graph Change subscription is a key component here where we can subscribe to a specific resource on Office 365. And if there's any change that happens on that particular resource, Graph Change subscription calls endpoint, which can be your custom endpoint, and then you can deal with those kind of notification the way you want it. And The important part here is like whatever the subscriptions that you created for your resources, you need to make sure that those subscriptions are always active. So we have to maintain those subscription lifetime and should renew those subscription as and when before they get expired as well. And my Azure App Service is following a standard Azure AD authentication. So all the requests that goes from the web application to my Azure App Service are been authenticated and carries a legit bearer token as well. Let's move to the next slide. So Graph Toolkit provider. So as we all know that in order to implement a Microsoft Graph Toolkit components, you have to have a valid provider, which can be of different flavors. But in my case, I'm basically using a proxy provider. If you can see the implementation here, I'm using a proxy provider. I'm passing my API URL. So this API URL is actually the .NET Core API, which is hosted on Azure App Service. The reason why I'm basically using the proxy provider is it gives you more control over things wherein there are certain restrictions or the threshold limits that have been imposed on the Microsoft Graph calls. So if all the traffic has been routed to my custom API, I can control the request and I can serve those requests with the different kind of caching mechanism that can be implemented in my .NET Core API. Okay, let's talk about the screens now. So as you can see in the screenshot, this is the left side of the screen component. So these all components are individual MGT get components, and they are being templatized based on the look and feel that you are seeing right now. So let's talk about a specific component. So this specific component is a wrapped version of MGT get, which is on React-based component, and it also has a cache invalidation period, which basically gets stored into the index DB. So this basically helps you to retrieve the data much more faster if there's no change in the data. And right now I'm pointing this particular Graph Toolkit component to a specific resource. So each and every conversation on the left-hand side is mapped against a conversation thread in Microsoft Teams. So my resource says Teams, Teams ID, channels, channel ID, message, message ID, and replies. So this message ID is nothing but a conversation thread, which is inside Microsoft Teams. And for the left-hand side, I'm just showing the last message. So that's why I have a no data query as $top1. Let's see what is happening in the last message item. So the last message item template has a couple of sub MGT components. So right now I'm using an MGT person component, which is the component which is highlighted here. And we have a couple of properties defined for it. We are also seeing the presence indicator on the left. And then we have the text part of it. So the text part of it is being shown as a content here. So this content is coming from as a response from my .NET Core API when the request goes through a proxy provider. And here we have a created date time. So this is the created date time. So all the content which is there inside this particular area is completely customizable. I mean, you can put the way you want it. I am trying to show it that this is something very much similar to Microsoft Teams, but you can make it as a discussion or a thread-based conversation or different ways. Let's talk about the right side. So right side of the component is also an MGT component. So for the demo purpose, I'm using a pure MGT component. It's not wrapped under a React component, and it has its own resource. This resource is actually again being pointed to a specific conversation inside Microsoft Teams, and it actually brings in all the replies inside that thread. So you can see all the messages on the right-hand side when you click on the specific conversation from the left-hand side. Again, it has a template which binds the value. The value is nothing but it's the complete response that we get from the Graph API. And this is the area where we can define our own template. I mean, again, I have designed this template in a way that it shows more or less like a Teams conversation, but the flexibility is there. We can do it the way we want it. So here, the entire code actually goes in where we can design this entire part. Okay, coming to the backend implementation. Backend implementation includes the user authentication, the graph change subscription, as I mentioned in the architecture, the signaler. Signaler is used to notify the clients that there's a new message that's been posted, and The most important is responding to all the graph calls. As I'm using a proxy provider, so every other call from the MGT get component goes to my .NET Core API. So I need to have all the endpoints defined in my .NET Core API to respond to those calls and send the data back to the MGT. Quickly on the graph change subscription. So their graph change subscription are the capabilities where we can define the notification URL and also the resource that you are subscribed to. So I'm subscribed to a resource for the teams ID, channel ID. So any CRUD operations that are happening inside this particular channel will get notified to my notification URL. And based on that, I can broadcast a message to a signaler and take that step forward. Okay, so respond to all the graph calls. So this is my proxy provider. So giving you one example. So I have defined one of the endpoint which responds to all the replies inside a conversation. So we have the team ID, channel ID, conversation ID coming from the graph toolkit component. And this endpoint handles the replies. So inside this code snippet, the native graph calls happen to Microsoft Teams to get the data. And once we get the data inside the .NET Core API, we can cache that data and we can serve all the other clients connected to the signaler endpoint. So this gives the flexibility of making a call just once and serving all the clients connected to the signaler endpoint. Quickly on the signaler implementation, you can see on the GIF that there is a notification that is popping up. So this is possible using signaler. So this is a standard signaler implementation where I'm adding any client that's coming in with a connection ID to a signaler group. And once the new message gets posted on Microsoft Teams, graph change subscription pushes to .NET Core sends a broadcast message using hub context. So this notifies all the clients who are connected to the signaler endpoint that there is a new message posted. Now, the magic comes for the MGT. So as and when the signaler broadcasts a message to the MGT components, we have an amazing method, which is a refresh method for the MGT, which just fires the query again to the .NET Core API with the endpoint of replies. And already the .NET Core API has the latest data when it made the call to Microsoft Teams, and that data is being served back to the client. And based on the caching mechanism, all the other clients are also being served with that. So the refresh is the key in the MGT element, which helps to get the latest data from Microsoft Teams. Let's see a quick demo. Okay, so this is my custom application. So this is my custom ERP application, and I have a Teams chat icon here. I click on the Teams chat. This is where all the conversations are loaded. So let's say if I click on a specific conversation, you can see all the conversation happening. So my MGT get has a person MGT, so you can see the person card, and depends upon the graph permissions that have been allocated, you can see the presence indicator and all the other details that are being associated with it. So let's pin this Teams chat and let's try to create a new conversation now. There we go. So let's probably pick up one specific object. So as and when the specific object has been selected, we see that there's a new conversation that gets created. So I'll say new conversation for community call. Enter. And meanwhile, I'll go to Teams chat as well. There you go. So you can see there's a new conversation that has been created here, and that also has got created inside the Microsoft Teams as well. So both the conversations are completely in sync now. So let's say if I go to an existing conversation, maybe new conversation 14.2, and try to post a message here, say test message notification call. So if I post a new message, you can see a notification also popping up here that there's a new message that's been posted. So if I go inside this, I cannot see the latest message right now. Maybe if I refresh again, just test again. Okay, something wrong with this. Let me try to just refresh and see. Okay, let me go quickly again. Inside sales order. Maybe pick up an existing conversation. Let's try to create what can. First conversation, say here. Yeah, so let's see. This is where the conversation has got created. And let me try to put a second message, maybe. That message also appears here. Let's try to put both of them in sync and see how the communication happens. So this is where my Teams is. This is where the actual Teams is. Let's try to put some reactions on this message. So you can see the reaction pops up here as well. So this is in sync with graph change, notification pushing the message back, signal out broadcasting, MGT calling a refresh. Let's try to edit this message. So let's say second message, edited. Let's push this message back. So we should be able to see this message getting edited. So we can see the message has got edited. It gets refreshed here as well on the left-hand side. Let's try to maybe put a GIF. Let's see what's the interesting GIF we can put in. Good morning. It's not a morning, but still you can push this up. You can see the GIF is also popping up here. So, I mean, we still, I mean, this is completely controlled the way you want it. I mean, you can also have your file shares also being imported here, and those files can also start appearing on your implementation of TeamShare, so the users can download those files as well. So, I mean, the possibilities are endless here. But the sample which I'm trying to show here is kind of a basic implementation of how does your custom TeamShare implementation get synced back to Microsoft Teams. So whatever the graph change subscription APIs that are being available, we can leverage all of them to the fullest. And also the MGT components that are being available and the new components that are being introduced, we can easily merge them, or we can implement them in our custom implementation and give the look and feel the way we want it. So that's more or less for the demo. Over to you, David. Thank you.
Awesome. So this is super, super slick. Really a lot of great feedback. I think there's some questions in the chat. We will absolutely let you go answer some of those, but thank you. That is really, really cool. Love how you put all that together. And it's really, really fantastic. All right. Excellent. Well, we want to thank all of our amazing presenters today, Andre, Federico, and Sohil. You are all amazing. Yeah, fantastic job. We really appreciate all that you've brought, especially our two first-time presenters, Federico and Sohil. Thank you very much. We'd love to have you back soon. All right, well, the recording will be available in 24 hours on the Microsoft 365 Community PnP YouTube channel, aka.ms/m365/videos. You can subscribe to that to get alerted when it is available. You may see in the chat that it is available to download. It is not available to download, just Teams is not really being honest with you there. It's only available to those in Microsoft. So definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel at aka.ms/m365/videos. You can also follow us on Twitter at Microsoft 365 Dev or at M365 PnP to keep up with all the latest news and announcements, as well as when these videos will be available. The next M365 General Dev call 2 weeks from today, July 7th at 7 a.m. Pacific time. Next Viva Connections SharePoint Framework call June 30th, 1 week from today at 7 a.m. Pacific time. You can access all of these community calls at aka.ms/m365/calls. Thank you, everyone, for being the best part of this community. We appreciate all that you do. Keep up the amazing work, and we will see you soon. Have a great weekend and a great rest of your week.